stand. Hey. They ain't think that we would make it, but we is. Started from the bottom, now we look at top tier. Know that we the chose, so they made us feel the fear. I see God appear when I look into the mirror. I know that I'm the chose. Yeah. And it's time to give us back the identity they stole. Rest in peace to the nigga that they try to make a me. Gotta elevate these bones, cause we the stand. Waking up the dead so they finally understand it. Now look at what is wrong, cream of the crop. No matter the problem, we rising to the top. I'm the progeny, God stand.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of the God Standard Podcast. This is episode number 11, Doing for Self and Doing for the People with our brother Jamaal Muhammad. And if, in case this is your first time catching this podcast, on the God Standard Podcast, what we aim to do is shed light and life to the original people of the planet by sharing these stories and experiences of people, regular people just like me and you, who have used the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to become gods in their respective lane. Okay, so today we have, like I said, our brother Jamaal Muhammad. Thank you for joining us on the God Standard Podcast.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, sir. So before we get into it, I'm going to do a quick bio. So Jamaal Muhammad was born in Texas, raised in Mississippi, and now soldiering in Detroit. This young soldier and student in the ministry class is a school teacher, entrepreneur, and restaurant owner of Supreme Cafe. He is an activist. He's an activist and community leader through his outreach and dedication not only to feeding but uplifting his community. As a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Jamaal is doing for self and uplifting his people. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for your work that you do and all that you're contributing to, the community and whatnot.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's just jump right in. And I want to ask you, because of the title, what does doing for self mean to you? What does it mean to you to do for self?
Yes, my praise be to Allah. First of all, I want to start off by saying thank you so much for having me on here. It's been an honor. It's an honor and a privilege being on your show. And then just to, I'm going to start off in the name of Allah. To be beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. And we thank him so much for his divine intervention in our affairs in the person of Master Father Muhammad, to whom praises is forever due. And I wouldn't know anything about doing for self or anything about starting my own business if it wasn't for Allah God coming to turn us back into our original selves. And in order for him to come and turn us back to our original selves, he picked one from among us whom the world seemed to be nothing. He raised them up to the top. And I'm talking about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who is the living and exalted Christ. And I thank these two enough that they did not forsaken us, but that they left the grace and mercy and the Messiah Namis and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it's in their holy righteous name that I'd like to greet you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So I would say doing for self to me is, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, that we have to do for ourselves and stop depending on, the slave master, to be able to start our own businesses and our own schools and our own, hospitals. So that's something that's, very important to me, that I think is very important part, of the teachings, especially when we are attracting people to Islam and we're telling people about the teachings. And especially, when we're dealing with our young people, that we're trying to attract them to something that they want to see us being productive. So in order for us to be able to attract people to where we're a part, and we talk about, luxury, money, good homes, and friendship and all walks of life, we have to be on the path of achieving that. So I think doing for self is something that's very, very important, not just to, the Muslims in the Nation of Islam, but you see all across America, people who have been affected by the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad are doing for self and going out to do things for our people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Thanks for that. And I was even somebody made a post I think a week or two ago, and it sparked my mind, because for me, I've always thought of doing for self as, you know, having businesses and creating our own infrastructure for our community, pretty much. But I think of it too now in a different way, where that it's even beyond that, but like really our self-determinism, like our ability to get up and do whatever it is that we need, whether it's, you know, breaking a habit, building a habit, getting in shape, being healthy, like whatever it is like we have to rely on ourselves and Allah to get us to where we need to be, wherever our desire, you know, wills for that to be, right?
Yeah.
So there's that too. So can you share about, like, how did you come into the nation? Were you born in the nation? How did you come into the teachings?
Yes, man. Praise be to Allah. So I was born a Muslim. I've been a Muslim since I was born all my life. But I didn't come under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan until 2018. So I became a registered member in the Nation of Islam under the minister's leadership since 2018.
Okay, praise be to Allah. So
Yeah.
can you share like how you kind of mentioned it, in that, you know, the teachings teach us to do for ourselves, but what was your upbringing like in terms of like guiding you towards entrepreneurship? And just because I did a little bit of homework and I saw that like you started really young in terms of doing for self with I think it was a car wash, right? And you had a
Really?
book.
I'll talk about
uh
that.
I did a little bit of digging, okay? But can you just speak about, because you know, for young people, it's like we can see all of these people who are successful, but it's like having examples or having guidance or, you know, stewardship to kind of put us in that direction. Like, what was that like for you?
Yes, man. Well, I would definitely say it was something that was, really instilled with me uh, from birth because, like I said, my parents, I grew up in a Muslim community in Mississippi.
Right.
And my parents, of course, I was born Muslim, and my parents were both, entrepreneurs. My mom was a midwife and a teacher, and my dad was electrical, engineer. And in the Muslim community I grew up in, we were big on, pulling our resources and doing for self and pushing, that part of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's program. So I'm thankful for that upbringing. So once I came under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it was something that was like second nature.
Right.
Because I was watching, some videos of, and I think this is a very important topic because, when we look at, and this is, I'm sorry, this is something that came into my mind, I got to share. But, a lot of times we as believers, we look at, prior to 75, and we say, oh, well, the nation was thriving back then. We had this, that, and all these businesses and stuff. And then we say, oh, well, after 1975, we wouldn't have a lot of those things. And it's not that we do not have a lot of those things, but a lot of the believers have taken the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and have done for self and push those programs into practice.
Right.
And they not only benefit us and our family, but they also benefit our nation because, of course, we're giving back to the nation. And a lot of times we have believers that's all across the nation of Islam that not necessarily, you may not see that stuff has been documented, but they're doing a lot. But also, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he was building these businesses and stuff and doing for self and doing all these different things, he had took away from this teaching and stuff a lot in the public, and he told the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that he wanted him, to handle the spiritual side as he was, building up all these different things and whatnot. And, we see that we had built up all of that, and in 1975, everything fell. So
Right.
now the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is trying to get us to be able to make sure that our foundation is strong, so that way, as you were saying, that we're actually building ourselves up and building our character. You don't read
Right.
anything in the Bible where it talks about, building businesses and stuff like that. But, we know that that's a part of our program, and that's something that's very, very important. And the
Absolutely.
Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us to do for self, and he gives us the guidance of how to farm, how to build your own business, and how to be successful. So it is up to us as believers and those who hear him to not only just hear him, but do it. So when I would say that he has been my inspiration and motivation for opening up this restaurant. And when I was getting ready to when it started from my idea to just getting the funding that I needed, all the help that I needed, it came from, listening to the words and the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And like I said, it was something that's always been instilled with me. I'm not a person to where, I guess it's kind of a weakness because I don't get complacent. I like to do so many things at once, which I'm trying to work on and I want to do. Everything I try to be a guy, I want to be a superhero and do everything by myself, but that's something that I'm working on. But I think it's something, and then it has to be what motivates you. It can't just be because you want to feed your own pockets or you want to be rich or something, but it has to be what motivates you, what's your driving force. And my driving force was always to be able to put myself in a position to where I can not only take care of myself and my family, but be able to take care and help out the nation and be able to help out my people. So, and that comes with many trials and tribulations and ups and downs. But when you know your why and why you're doing that, it's easier for you to be able to get through those trials and tribulations that you're going through.
Right. I appreciate that. I appreciate the spirit behind that because it's exactly what you're saying. Like, we can't talk about, okay, what happened before 75 and we're not willing to actually put boots to the ground and do what needs to be done. Like, it's incumbent upon us to do for self and put the pedal to the metal. We can't just all be like lip service, right? And talk about what was. So
and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I heard he was saying it in a interview. He was saying how he had did what he was supposed to do up this point, and he said now it's up to us young people to take the nation to that next level, economically. But we really in our own path. If you look all over, the nation, so many of us are young people that are talented and business and all type of things. And I think when we really come together as the youth, in the nation, we can really be able to take things to to the next level when it comes, to that side with the proper guidance.
Absolutely. I totally agree, 100%. So, I want to get into like what inspired the Supreme Cafe, but before that, I want to know like if you could share like your experience between like growing up in Texas, then living in Mississippi, and then like what brought you to Detroit, and like why do you feel like what has given you that love for the community in Detroit?
Wow, that's a great question. Well, it's definitely a different experience because I grew up, like I said, I was born in Texas, but I kind of spent most of my childhood upbringing, in Mississippi. So, I didn't stay in where the big city was. I stayed in like a small town, like I said, with the, the Muslim community that I am, and then a couple of people that I would see in the talent difference. So, I went to college. I went to MUI and I was homeschooled, all my life. So college was like a different experience for me. It was the first time I actually went to, public school. And of course, you grew up as a Muslim and then you start going to public school, you start, experience different things and you want to go out and do different things and like that. And just to be able to see the world and different things that's going on. So after I graduated from college, I actually had moved to Louisiana to where I actually was the general manager at Waffle House. And even though I was making good money, I would just always be like, what, I could be making more money doing my own business. Just always different ideas and stuff that was sparked into me. And it's like I never could just conform to everything that they wanted me to do. Was always something. It's like I can't put my own spin on this or do this, that, and the other because I'm going, by somebody else's thing. So, when I joined the nation in 2018, and I came up to, I got registered in July of 2018, and then I came to Detroit for Holiday of Atonement in 2018, and of course, I'm new in the nation. I'm young, and I'm just want to move and go places and stuff. And I come to Detroit, and I see all the details and the movement, and of course, this being with the Mecca and stuff. And I always had a desire to be in Detroit because my family is from Flint, Michigan. So I used to come to Flint and Detroit all the time growing up. Once a year, it was something that I always looked forward to coming. I always wanted to get out of Mississippi. So I think for me, it was something that was destined for me to be at. And I think Allah put the right circumstances in my life to drive me to get here, because even when I've tried to leave and move away, it's like something made me come back. So I think, Allah has me in the right place. And at the right time, I've been able to, by the grace of Allah, being, a student and follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, being able to be out in the community and make a lot of friends. And, I really feel that I've made a name for myself here because of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the leadership
Right.
of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, being out in the community with the final call, going to different events, speaking as a student in the ministry on behalf of Student Minister Troy, and
Right.
just being involved and active in the community is definitely a different, loving, welcoming experience. I've done things, so many times in the years of all types of details and being in so many different, areas and whatnot. And, when people always talk to me, and they be like, "How did you come all the way from Mississippi? You came up here and ran for office. You opened up a restaurant. You had done stuff that people that's been here, for years as that haven't, accomplished what you accomplished." And I'm always trying to self-reflect because I feel like I could have been farther along in life, but it's just certain things that have happened to where I got distracted, didn't have the right people in my life, different things that have happened but it's all, growing pains and all experiences because don't nothing happen without Allah's permission. So it's definitely been an experience in a journey being here in Detroit.
Absolutely. And I saw that some of what you're doing is like feeding people in the community. I'm not sure if it was like the homeless or whatnot, but feeding people in the community. And I find that, like, especially as a person who like has their own restaurant, that's your business. It's one thing to go and sell the final call, and that's of course respectable in its own right. But then as a business owner, to now go and give away food and help people in that way, like, it takes a particular type of heart to do that, and a particular like desire to really be a servant of your people, and I think that's commendable. What inspired you to do
even
that?
Even before my restaurant had opened up, before I even had the brick and mortar location, I was doing just catering and doing events and stuff and cooking out of my house.
Right.
And then once I started getting involved in politics and being able to be more active and involved in the community, I started feeding people because I seen the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan do it and talked about how he was feeding people. He's done way more than we have. So I said, well, if he could do it, then I could do it. And if we are his students and his followers, then we should be following by example. And so that's what really led me to be able to do that. And of course, having the restaurant just opened up a bigger avenue for me to be able to do things on a larger scale, be able to do it quicker, and to be able to have that access.
Right. Well, praise be to Allah. I love
Allah.
that. Okay, so in terms of your restaurant, Supreme Cafe, can you tell us like how it started, how it came about? Because let me just say something though. Last year, Savior's Day, I was trying to get a bean pie.
Yeah, and you didn't come to Detroit. You didn't get anything.
No, I was in Detroit, and the restaurant was so like, I guess you guys were like really successful because I was not able to get a bean pie. But wow. I think that's a good thing for you.
Did you come up to the restaurant?
I did not come. I called.
Oh yeah,
I called a few times.
We didn't answer that phone for hours. It was like so busy. In fact, I told them to stop answering the phone.
Yeah, I'm like, somebody answered me like the first time, and then I'm like, hold it for me, and then I called again, and it was like, yeah, no. But I heard that it was crazy in there, like in a good way. And congratulations to be open and thriving in that way. But can you tell us about like how it started? What was the idea? And you mentioned that you were like catering before that, so like why the change to like the physical location?
Oh yes, my praise be to Allah. But it kind of really has started. I think per se from when I was first of all, when I was growing up, I used to work in a bakery that was a part of the Muslim community that I was working in before I had went to college. And once I had moved to Louisiana, I was, like I said, I was working at Waffle House. I was a manager at Waffle House, and I got that experience from the management side of working at a restaurant. And so then I started like just doing cooking and stuff, and then I kind of came up with a business name or something. I don't think I forgot what it was. I have to go back and look, but it didn't start off at Supreme Cafe. I think it kind of started off at Shabazz Bakery and Restaurant or something, and a couple of things, and then I kind of switched it to Supreme Cafe, and I kind of got the name because it was catchy. And of course, we always talk to be supreme, so I wanted to have a name to where I'm striving to have the best foods to be able to offer to the community. So, like I said, I was cooking a little bit in Baton Rouge, and once I moved to Detroit, I started doing like events and stuff. Like starting to do catering and stuff because I wanted to have my own business. Originally, I just started off just cooking bakery goods. So I was just baking goods and stuff. Then people started asking me for food, and I started off doing sandwiches, and then I started off doing pop-up events to where I kind of expanded and started actually doing food and everything. And then, of course, like I said, I can't think small. I got to be able to think big. So I was like, we don't have a restaurant at all, in Detroit, and we need something that we can call our own to where we have a restaurant to where the believers in the community can have something to get good Muslim food because we used to have it. So I wanted to be able to have, a restaurant to where we offer, good Muslim cuisine to the community. So I was working with somebody, but once I was doing like some events and stuff in Detroit, I ended up meeting somebody, and he told me that he was going to invest in my business.
Right.
So I met the person. He said he was going to invest in my business, and we came up to like an agreement to where it was like a 70-30 split. But granted, at this time I was still ignorant to business. Of course,
right.
I thought it was somebody I could trust. I didn't really get nothing in writing, whatever. So we had got the building. I was at the business, and I was advertising. We was going to open soon, and I was painting up there. And then one day somebody came and knocked on the door and was like, that basically he was the owner, and it was like some backstory about it. But anyway, making a long story short, the guy had basically messed up with me. It wasn't his building, and I had to end up leaving, and it was kind of like a waste of time. And you would think something like that would deter you from, the path of the journey. And of course, it made it for a second or whatever. So then I just kind of, after a few months, I kind of regrouped and came back and started back doing events and stuff. Right. And then when COVID happened, I actually had moved back to Mississippi, and a lot made me come back to move back to Detroit. Right. So because COVID happened, I had moved to Mississippi, and I had moved everything, so I didn't have my house and stuff anymore. So when I came back to Detroit, I was staying at my uncle's house for like a couple of weeks until I got back into my another house. And it was this event where I was doing security at the event. And somebody had given this flyer, was like, "Yeah, you should come vid here." And I was like, "I'm not about to vid nowhere. I'm not situated. I just moved back, whatever." Right. So in the spirit movie, I said, I'm just gonna do some baked goods and stuff. So I did, baked goods at this event, and that's kind of how we kind of started back up. And then of course this was still during COVID time. And then I was able to get like a couple $1,000, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna open up a business on my own. Me and Curtis, like this was a location I had started looking, whatever. But then I had came and looked inside the building, and it was like an open box, so it was absolutely nothing. So I was like, it's gonna take over $100,000 to get this building done. So I had started to go and look for something else to be able to see what it is that I was trying to do. Right. So as I was looking for the building, and I got the building or whatever, I was like, I don't have the money to get this building done. I don't know how it's going to get done. Right. So it kind of was, I'm walking out on faith. So I got the keys to the building and signed the lease. But then I was just like, I don't know how this is about to get done. Right. My friends were like, well, you just need to go and put some paint on the walls and make it look paint, open up and start making money. And I was like, no, that's ghetto. Right. I'm not about to do that. Like, that's not, I get shut down or whatever. But I did, I started to come in here and strip the walls, started painting and stuff. Right. Did a couple of things, and you can, if you look back at my page, you can kind of see to where we had like a couple of pictures to where, I was in here actually working before this kind of came about. So started doing a little minute renovation on myself with the help of one of my brothers here, brother Raheem, and we were just kind of doing whatever it is that we were doing, trying to do something, didn't know what was going on. Right. And then probably about a couple of months, I was like, yeah, this is not like going nowhere, whatever. So my landlord was like, what you want to do, because you kind of had the building for like some months now, you have done nothing to it. And then he told me about this program with the city to where I could get some grant money with the city to be able to open the business. And in my mind, I would like apply for different applications and stuff, and I said I wasn't even about to do that because it's just like a waste of time. Right. And I did this and that, it's like denied. Right. So probably about the last 15 minutes when the application had closed, and I said I'm about to just submit this application. I'm just kind of rush through it because I'm not going to get approved anyway. Right. So I did the application, rushed through it, submitted it, and then probably about a month later, they sent the application like, oh, well, you made it to the next step. Wow. It was awarded. So that's kind of where the journey started as far as actually getting the building. Praise be to Allah. I walk out on faith, and I like to tell this story, especially to those of you that may be listening, because you might not have the money for that idea. You might not be able to know how it is that you want to do it. And it's not that you're going to sit back and wait on the mystery guy to come and bring you food, but you got to be able to walk out on faith, even when you don't see it coming. That's why I said faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Right.
Like, you don't know how it's about to come. You don't know how this is about to happen. But if you have faith in Allah and go out and work, and I would truly say my dedication of being out in the community is where the reason why Allah blessed me to be able to get what I needed to be able to get, the business going and get what I needed to get the restaurant opened up. So.
Right. Praise be to Allah. That's such an interesting story. And it's just a testament to exactly what you're saying. Like, Allah helps those who help themselves, right? So it's like you might not even see the third step, but if you can take one step, then by the grace of Allah, you will get help. You know what I mean? If the intention is right and you're doing it with the right heart, you know what I mean? So that's a beautiful thing. And I think entrepreneurship, well, I know entrepreneurship is one of those things that, like, it will test you, and it will, like, teach you about yourselves, and it will give you lessons, because sometimes it can tend to be like up and down, right? Can you speak to some things that you may have learned along the way, and how your faith in Allah and how your Islam helped you, like, weather the storm, kind of thing?
Oh, wow. Well, I would first have to say is I'm weathering the storm.
Yes, sir.
Now the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that there's a difficulty factor attached to everything of value. So, whenever we set ourselves out to do something especially that's righteous and good, you always have, obstacles and trials and tribulations that have come up, in your life that kind of test your faith and test the waters. And,
right.
Of course, when you first open up a business, is always the grand opening, rally to feed, people start coming,
right.
the news and everything. Of course, at the beginning, it's always good, but then it's always, and restaurants is one of the hardest businesses to go into.
Right.
And a lot of people who start restaurants, they have families and friends and stuff who are able to come in and kind of work for free and be able to get things going until the restaurant is actually able to sustain itself and be profitability. So, I had a unique situation because I don't have necessarily a family support or somebody that was partners with stuff that came in the with me. Was kind of something that I all did on myself and on my own. I would definitely say one of the mistakes that I made in the beginning was trying to do too much. So, like, when we started up, we was opening like Sunday through Saturday, like from 9 a.m. to like 9 p.m. at night. And I had a big elaborate menu. So I would say definitely if you ever want to go in the restaurant business, you want to kind of start off with a smaller menu and be able to, have different things done. And it's like I said, if you don't have the money saved up, and I did have a little capital, saved up from the funding that I had to kind of get things started, but somewhere down the line things happen, and you can have some money, but restaurants are expensive. You can have it, and after a month it's gone. So it's definitely been many ups and downs that have happened. When I had first started the restaurant off, I wasn't working at the time. Well, I was working, but I had resigned from the school. Need to put solely focus on a restaurant. And I would say that if you don't have like a for sure plan, sometimes it's best for you to still be working in the beginning until you actually try to get to where you were going. Because one of the mistakes that I made was, because I had quit my job, is that I was taking money from the restaurant to actually pay my personal bills and different things I had to do, instead of letting that foster into. So of course, I've been back to work. And I'm pretty sure my father was going to say where I closed down at least 2 or 3 times. And, consistency is something that you have to have in any business. But at the same time, they don't know like that backstory of what's going on. What has happened. Like I've been in situations to where I had to sacrifice my car, my house, personal things to be able to sustain a restaurant, just to be able to keep it open, because it wasn't necessarily, bringing in the money in, and I had to like keep different things going to be able to keep the restaurant going. So we actually have been closed for like the past 2 months, because I've been kind of regrouping. And I've just been like doing catering stuff on the side. But it was something that we kind of rescheduled this interview today, because I'm actually opening back up tomorrow.
Right.
By the grace of Allah. And it just kind of was the right timing and stuff.
Amazing.
So I would say you know, you gonna have, you know, some customers, and you gonna have, you know, your loyal customers, and
Right.
you know, you can push yourself and you can sacrifice and struggle. You know, a business is the struggle.
Right.
And why people might say, hey, you might have closed it 2 or 3 times. The fact is that I haven't given up. You see, I'm here at the restaurant.
Right. Right. Right.
It's going. I haven't given up. Is sometimes you got to be able to take a moment and pause and go back to the drawing board and see, well, what I
Right.
did. Want to be able to come back and be like, you know, let's try this again. So I would say, you know, don't be so worried about what somebody is going to think of you, because I would say for like 3 months straight, I kind of just kept the restaurant open. I wasn't making a dime, a
Right.
profit, or nothing. And for 3 months straight, I was going into my personal money,
Right.
you know, taking money out of my personal check to sustain bills at the restaurant just to keep it open, so that to keep the expectations open. And then I had hurt myself
Right.
personally in my personal financial life, and I had, like I said, go back and regroup and get things, you know, back in order. So if you look at a lot of different millionaires and people, like even the successful people, they would tell you they failed many times before they actually got it right. So don't be
Absolutely.
okay to fall. Just be able to say, I'm gonna pick myself back up again. And
Right.
as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, that you know, Allah will try you with something of fear, you know, loss of hunger,
Right.
diminution of fruits. Like we're being tried, Allah would temporarily take something from you and give it back to you, but you got to be able to have, you know, trust in Him to be able to persevere. It's not, entrepreneurship is not for people that's easy. If you want to be easy, just get a job and that's all you do. It's for people
Right.
that's stronger. You're able to be able to, you know, weather through the storm. So I would say that, you know, don't be ashamed to be able to, you know, regroup. You want to be able to have a team of people that's able to help you to be able to get things going, you know, to the next level. And I also would say, uh, you know, especially for, you know, the believers and, you know, the young believers in the nation of Islam,
Right.
you know, a lot of times we look at other people being successful and be like, hey, you know, they got here 3 or 6 months, 9 months, in a year, and
Right.
I'm not where I need to be. And then we measure ourselves based on what somebody else's measurement of life and success is.
Right.
And it's like we kind of look at ourselves and kind of say, you know, well, that person not even in the mosque, so they making $1 million and they doing all this, that, and the other. But your journey is not where Allah wants your journey to be at.
Right.
And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that Allah will, you know, take something from us, and then doesn't necessarily mean that He permanently take it away from us, but Allah will temporarily, you know, take things, you know, from us to be able to get us to where He's trying to get us to go to, you
Right.
know, the next level. And just because that person is where they is, your level of success is not that person's level of success. And you know, the restricted law of Islam, you know, it is our success. You know,
Right.
when you might look at somebody else's and be like, well, they smoking and drinking and this, that, and the other, they're having a successful life. But like I said,
Right.
your journey is not what Allah wants us to have our journey. And so if we call ourselves striving to be Muslims, we have to be striving to be able to live by that law, because, you know, business, you know, half of your business, probably really more than half, is all a spiritual and mental thing. And when you're not
Absolutely.
spiritually right, you know, things, you know, life kind of just, you know, start, you know, falling apart. So I would say for those, you know, who you are, Muslim or not Muslim, whoever, you know, you want to make sure that you're spiritually intact and that you have the spiritual fortitude to be able to persevere and to keep
Right.
going when you're going through those trials and those tribulations. And when you do make mistakes, to be able to, you know, look and evaluate your life and be able to fix your mistakes, to be able to get, you know, to the next part, to where you're trying to get to in life, because it's the journey, but the journey is not, you know, to whoever shall, you know, get there fast or not, but whoever shall endure, you know, through the end. So,
Right.
you know, and as Student Minister Ismail was just saying this past Sunday, you kind of brought up early, you know, self-improvement is the basis for the community development. So you can't have
Absolutely.
a business, but you're not working on yourself. And I would say, you know, sometimes we're so busy pouring into our business that we forget to work on ourselves. We forget to do certain things. So we don't ever want to be so busy to the point to where we start, you know, neglecting ourselves.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful. And you know, I think that I know that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is a master teacher, and even telling us and teaching us to do for self, like I kind of mentioned earlier, like I feel like it's not as simple as just like having a business. There's layers to it, and there's like a science behind it, because you kind of even touch on it too. Like when you work a job, someone tells you when to wake up, tells you when to be there, tells you exactly what to do, how it's going to work. There's a system in place already. Like you just have to show up and just do what you're told to do, right? But with a business, it's like you have to be disciplined within yourself to know when to get up, know when to sleep properly. Like, you know, different challenges that come in, it takes the mindset. It takes, like you said, the spiritual fortitude to get through those challenges and you know, overcome that, because it's like as you're developing the business, like you're developing yourself, like kind of at the same time, like if you think about it, right? And yeah, it's easy to look at the outside of, you know, someone else, but it's like that saying, I don't know if you know it, but it's like, you know, comparison is the thief of joy, right? Because it's like you don't know what that other person has going on in the background, and it may look like it's great because they have a business or they have XYZ, whatever, you know, whatever it might be, but we don't know what's going on. But the fact that you have continued to show up and come back, and, you know, despite the challenges and whatnot, that's like very commendable, and it's a good example for the young people, not only in the nation, but just young Black people who are striving to do right, striving to like use their gifts and talents to, you know, benefit themselves, their families, their community, etc. So that's yeah, that's super important.
Yes, man. Praise be to Allah, definitely, for sure.
My children actually, for the last 2 summers, they've been doing this like business during the summer where they sell candy. So we buy a bunch of candy and chips and stuff like that, and they sell it. And I think of like the brothers having to go into the fields, and even us as sisters having to like speak to people and, you know, share the program and whatnot. Seeing my children, because at first they had the idea and they're like, okay, we're gonna do this, but then when it came to, and I helped them somewhat, but I wasn't like holding their hand. And to see them like have to go to talk to people, at first they were like, oh, like, hey, I'm selling candy, and then after like a few people, you know, they got turned down, they got no's, they got this and that, and it's like they just blossomed, and they were like, hey, this is what I'm selling, this is what it is. And to see them blossom, like, in that's just a small tiny example, right? But it's indicative of like on a bigger scale, us as adults, as, you know, young people trying to build. It's like we have to understand that it's very spiritual, it's very like mental. So
yes, and then, you know, this
stay in doing.
generation of children is definitely different from, you know, when me and you know, grew up. It's a total
That's true.
different, you know, generation. As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, that this is the most fearful, you know, generation that we ever produced. And, you know,
Fearless,
I
yeah.
see it even working in the public school system, and maybe a lot of it maybe be negative, and it's like you look at certain things and you be like, if I had said some of the stuff when I was growing up, it never would have happened. But then it's like a, you know, a positive side, because it's like they have, you know, so much in them. And, you know, I'll give an example. You know, I teach technology class,
Right.
and we had did this homework assignment to where I had gave them, and it was about them to create their own superhero. And one of my students who's in 5th grade, she brought her worksheet back today, and she had her superhero on there. Her superhero's name was Jesus.
Yes.
So then it started asking the questions when it says, why is Jesus your superhero? And then the answer said, because I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that he loves us so much and he gives so much for the people. But she was like explaining Jesus and stuff on there. So then I asked her, I said, who helped you to do this? And she was like, nobody. And I said, so how you know about all of this? And she said, because I learned about it in church. And she was able to tell for me without even looking at the paper what was going on, but just be able to see, you know, the smartest and the intelligence in the 5th graders, even to see, you know, the brothers and sisters, you know, in the nation. And, you know, it's just a whole total different generation from when we grew up, and they have like so much you know, into them, and just about being able to motivate them and cultivate them so that they're able to get to, you know, the next level. And of course, you know, obviously you're doing a great job of parenting, because they saw that light in you, so when they was able to go and pick those things up and start that business, to be able to have the idea with just a little inspiration and push from it.
Right. Praise be to Allah. And for those who are watching, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will, you know, share them with our brother. But you mentioned the school, and that's kind of where I was gonna go next. Like, what is it like being a teacher, and, you know, having these like young minds that you're responsible for? Like, what is that experience like? Having the teachings and just being there in that environment, and, you know, having that responsibility, what does that mean to you?
Well, I definitely say it's very meaningful because we're taught that our first work is to deliver the 17 million or more dead to the Lamb of God,
That's right.
and sometimes we look at that and we say that's just going out with the final call and propagating the faith, and that is the most part of it, but
right.
The duty of the civilized men is to teach civilization. So it's a blessing for me because, of course, I'm a student in the ministry, but I'm able to, motivate the youth. And of course, I gotta, go by the curriculum, but I'm able to be able to throw the teachers in there without introducing religion into
Right.
the school district because I'm trying to help them to see, uh, the God inside them without, them saying, trying to see them see their full potential. So,
Right.
it's definitely a rewarding experience, but it definitely, as you know, can be a stressful, uh, experience and working in the school district, especially when we have all these different laws and stuff that you have to go by. Can't do this and you can't do that, but it's definitely rewarding to be able to be able to shine your light and be able to, and I tell, my fellow teachers and stuff all the time, it's not always about just suspending a person. Sometimes you got to be able to
Right.
have a conversation with them. I've had situations where students that curse me out, hit me, call me all
Oh
types of
no.
names and stuff. But
Right.
when you actually take that student and pull them to the side and try to understand what's going on and start to build that student teacher relationship, then they start telling you stuff and they're able to be able to share things with you. I have this one girl in my class that's in kindergarten, and when she first got, I'm not gonna say what she said, but she had called me a crazy name as a kindergarten and
Right.
like slapped me. And like now she went up to me and be like, "Hey, Mr. Muhammad," and like she always sees me whatever. So because I
Right.
took the time to not be like, what, I'm gonna just call your parents, and of course I told her parent, but be able to take the time to be able to build that relationship and have that conversation because our children, especially in the public school system, that they come from broken homes.
Mm.
Some of them don't have fathers in their life, don't have mothers in their life. Some of them don't have food and
Right.
shelter, and we have to be able to look beyond their faults and to see their needs because those are not our children. Those are God's children, and they should be treated
Right.
as such, and even being able to be the entrepreneur, and a lot of them know that, and I'm able to share that side with them and be able to help them and train them in that way is definitely a rewarding experience because I feel like I'm able to work, but I'm doing the work and doing the mission.
Right. 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 I love that so much, and it sounds like it's very rewarding. It sounds like it's very like it's in alignment with the rest of the things that you do, kind of thing. It sounds like. And I feel like I don't know how it is where you work, but my children were in public school last year, and their whole school had one male teacher, and it was a white man. And the majority of school were black children, were our children, and I just thought of the dynamic of having all these female white teachers every day at school and having not one man that looks like you, and what that does to their minds in terms of like power dynamics, and like even them just showing up and trying to do their best. It's like it's not even to say it's black women, it's white women who are teaching them, who are over them, who are telling them what's right and what's wrong. That's not even necessarily really right or really wrong, you know what I mean? So I think it's so important to have black male teachers in the school. um and I was wondering, like, what brought you to teaching, like what brought you to serve in that way, like as a job and whatnot.
And that's a great question because my major is actually in criminal justice pre-law,
Right.
uh, and I actually was going to go to law school and just kind of went down some different paths. But what ended up happening was I was out speaking at the school and speaking to the children, and speaking to the youth, and I ended up meeting this principal, Dr. Norwood, and she started telling me about the school and whatever. And then, of course, like I said, it was something that I really didn't envision on,
Right.
going into. But then I got the opportunity to teach at, elementary school. Started off as a second grade teacher, and I've tried to get out of it, but then Allah pulled me back into it. So it was really just me being out in the community and being involved to what was going on and being able to be seen, mentoring the youth to where the opportunity kind of presented itself and came up.
Okay, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think it's so funny when you say like I tried to get away, but a lot keeps bringing me back. It's like Allah truly is, the best planner in all ways. So that's that's
Yes,
humbling. It's a beautiful thing.
praise be to Allah. Yes,
Yes, sir. So I'm gonna wrap up pretty much. But I want you to, if you can, like, can you share like if there's, I want to say one thing, but let's just say top three words of wisdom, words of advice, gems, things you learned along the way to young entrepreneurs who maybe they're in the restaurant industry, maybe they're, I don't know, trying to do something else, but like, could you give some gems that can help us, like, whether we're in the nation or not, help us to push forward and overcome those difficulties and, like, put ourselves out there and really like lock in?
yes, man. Well, I must start out by saying that I don't have no gems or wisdom. I'm a student. Of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I get all my wisdom and gems from him, and just being able to,
Yes, sir.
learn from him. But of course, we have our own personal experiences to where we're able
Right.
to, share to our people to be able to, stop ourselves from doing, what it is that you're doing. And I would say that a couple of things is, first that you want to keep Allah first,
Right.
in a sense, or whatever it is you're doing, whether it's your business, your job, whatever, especially in businesses, you want to keep him first and keep him at the center, and strive, to be right. And, you want to have a well thought out plan. And sometimes you can have a well thought out plan, and then it's different curves that can come along the way until you'll be able to pivot. And like we were saying
Right.
earlier, everybody don't know what's going on, behind the scenes. So, as
Right.
long as you're putting your best foot forward, and you're doing what it is that you're trying to do, Allah will be able to, take care of the rest if you have faith in Him and knowing that He'll be able to, see you do and persevere. You
Right.
want to be able to have, the right people, in your corner helping you, inspiring you, motivating you, helping to build your business. Because if you have the wrong people, in your life, and it doesn't necessarily mean that those are bad people. Those just aren't the
Right.
right people for you. They need to be in your life to be able to be to where Allah is trying to get you to. So you want to be
Right.
able to make sure that you are making uh, a great decision with the people that you choose to be a part of your life and a part of your journey. So that way they're actually able to aid you and help you, and not be able to, hinder you from the mission that, Allah, God has set us out to do.
Right.
Uh, and it's a long journey. The race is not, to the swift, but whosoever shall, endure during the end. You have to be able
Right.
to have a why and a motivation, because especially in the restaurant industry, sometimes you can go years not even making a profit. But
Right. Right.
what's your
Right.
motivation force? Like, what's driving you to be able to, get you through those dark times? And you got to be able to sacrifice. If you're not willing to sacrifice, something of your personal, accountability of your personal level, be able to sacrifice something, personally, being in business is not nobody's business for you. You got to be able to sacrifice.
Right.
But when you're going through those dark days, those gloomy days, just remember, as the scripture says, weeping may endure during the night, but joy, coming through, in the morning.
Right. Right.
In order for you to produce something great, you got to go through, do pain. We taught that the creator, he studied himself, and he went through eons and eons of pain
Right.
uh,
Right.
before he even made his first creation, which was the woman, because he studied himself and knew that he needed to help me. So you have to study yourself and know what it is that you need in your life to be able to get you to
Mm.
where you're trying to get to
Right.
on the next level. You have to be able to sacrifice, if it's something that you like doing all the time, whether it's traveling or, going places and stuff. You got to be able to sacrifice and be able to, be disciplined. Be in business, you definitely have to be disciplined,
Right.
in business, very disciplined. So that way you're able to accomplish more. I have days to where, because I work a job, sometimes I might not
Mhm.
leave out the restaurant, get done to 12 o'clock
Wow.
in the morning, and not
Yeah.
sometimes 1 and 2 going to bed at 2 a.m. You wake up for 5 a.m., 6 a.m. They have to work a whole nother job, and I'll say that this working in school is rewarded, but it's definitely like draining,
It's a lot. Yeah.
especially for me, because I teach a special class, so I see. 8 different classes a day. So I'm seeing over 200 something classes a day, and that it can be like so draining. I'd be having days where I don't even feel like doing other things, and it's like I have to be grouping in, coming and doing, mosque duties and being out active in the community and stuff is definitely a lot. But know what motivates you. What's your why? Be
Right.
able to not able to be able to sacrifice what you're trying to get to having the right people in your life and
That's
put a
right.
complete trust in Allah.
Right. I love that. Complete trust in Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Okay, so can you you said Supreme Cafe is opening up again tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so can you give all the details, hours, what's going on? Give
Yeah.
give us the info.
Yeah, so we've added some new things to our menu.
Okay.
I actually have a partner that's gonna be coming on and helping me, over these next few months to be able to get some things going on. So we under new management and have, I'll see the details when I post on my page.
Okay.
In the morning. So we'll be open and back up Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. To 9 p.m. when we have more things that we added to our menu based on our customer responses and different things that we're trying to do. So we're
Right.
excited about going back into this phase and being able to offer. And like I said, we were closed. The restaurant was closed, but was doing catering and events.
Right. Okay, got it. Amazing. I love to hear it, love to see it. And make sure if you're watching even the replay, Instagram Supreme Cafe LLC
Yes.
for updates and whatnot. So yeah, be sure to support Supreme Cafe if you're in Detroit. And yeah, inshallah, I will get there soon for my bean pie.
Praise be. So yeah, I try the other food too, not just the big pie.
No, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right
everybody
then.
those salmon egg rolls.
Pardon me. What do you suggest?
I said everybody loves those salmon egg rolls and our famous fish sandwiches.
Oh yes, I saw those a couple times, the egg rolls. So see, I got a little menu plan that I need to try for when I get there.
Yes, man. Praise be to
All
Allah.
right. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the watchers and the listeners who are watching the replay, who have sat with us live. I appreciate the support, and make sure to support your brother and have a blessed rest of your evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.